Happy Friday, and thanks for starting your weekend with us on Union Insider. I'm your host, Sage Hurley. Here's what we've got for you over the next half hour. We get up close and personal with the Philly phenom himself, Cavin Sullivan, on the pitch after his first MLS goal and in the latest edition of our Mic'd Up series. Plus, YSC teacher and author Mark Franek joins the show to talk the current soccer landscape in the U.S., how we got here, and where it's going next. And later, Sheanon Williams joins me on set to continue our roster preview for the World Cup. We're talking midfielders this week, as well as previewing tomorrow's return engagement with Columbus at Subaru Park. Before the boys in blue could turn their attention to the Crew, there was a midweek match in Orlando to contend with. Orlando, sporting one of the leakiest defenses in the league, was sure to spell goals, and boy did we get them. Here's how things played out in the Sunshine State.
Fantastic from Atuesta. Onion misses. Ojeda's in. Ojeda right. Down goes. Orlando. Ojeda. Chips it towards Dorsey. Thiago takes it off a Bender. Still Thiago. It's Dorsey. It's two. Billy's turn. Sullivan up the line. It's Harriel. The cutback. Hilaski. Milan Ilaski on the board. Cavin Sullivan starts the play. Game on at 2-1. Weaving his way forward. Tyrese Spicer gets through. 3-on-1 for Orlando. Spicer driving forward. Sweeps it across. Down to McGuire. Good ball out to Cavin Sullivan in space. Sullivan curls it inside towards the back post. Bender knocks it down. It's Sullivan! Sullivan with his first MLS goal. Back the other way. Borzanowski. Bender! And Bender drags the Union back from the brink. Combining with Angulo. Marine sends one in. Ojeda! Orlando free kick. They won't even bother. What a win for Orlando City.
I've been waiting for this one for a while. Like I just said in another interview, it's been a year and a half without one in the MLS. So, I mean, it's my first, but, since I've been getting minutes. So, it was hard earned. I put a lot of work into this. I've worked on that cutback ball, hundreds of times. So, I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season and bagging in more. I sort of got the ball and I cut it on my left, my favorite foot, played a ball out to Ben, and I don't know if it was first time or second time from him. I mean, it was all kind of a blur, but I got the ball back. It slid past Augie, and I was just there to put it in. So it was a great fight in the second half by these guys, but honestly, it's not enough. We need 3 points or at least a point on the road, and we got to stop giving up late. So we're gonna tighten the screws and turn this thing around because you fans deserve more. And I promise we'll be back on top soon.
Here's what the upcoming schedule looks like for the boys in blue. After tomorrow's game against the Crew, there's just one more game before the league breaks for the World Cup. The team returns to action in late July with 3 straight at home against Red Bull New York, Seattle, and Atlanta. After that, Leagues Cup play begins. Moving on, when things aren't going your way on the field, it's important to have a couple of characters around the locker room to keep things light. In most teams, that doesn't usually take the form of a 16-year-old phenom, but as usual, Cavin Sullivan proves to be the exception rather than the rule. Here he is in the latest edition of Mic'd Up.
Yo, I'm mic'd up. Yo, everything I say now feels like I'm clip farming.
Hey, did you pass your driving test?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
Did you have to do parallel parking?
Yeah.
That
I'm cool with. Parallel, I'm cool with. She found me for a stop sign on the first one, so I just had to.
You did a California roll?
Yeah, I just had to stop like a nerd on the.
California roll and stop?
South Philly slide.
Did you drive today?
What?
Did you drive here today?
I don't want to drive. Go, Jay! Go, Jay!
Yes.
Get back! Get back!
Whoa! Whoa!
Go, Quinn. 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 Attaboy. Attaboy. I'm mic'd up. Don't say anything. That's us! That's our ball! It's our ball, ain't it? It ain't our ball. Turn, Augie. Yes! Great tackle, Ollie.
We're heading to break with this week's trivia question presented by United Concordia. Who holds the team record for most goals in a single season? The answer comes later in the show. Union Insider is back after this. Welcome back to the show. Unless you've been living under a rock the last few weeks, you're aware that the World Cup is just weeks away from getting underway, putting the U.S. men's national team in the spotlight once again. For more, we bring in Mark Franek, author of American Soccer Nation, the remarkable 150-year history of Yanks on a Roll from mob football to the modern game. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sage and listeners, great to be here.
First off, Mark, what was the impetus to write this book, and why is the topic so close to your heart?
Sure. I work at YC Academy, which is the fully accredited independent high school embedded within the Philadelphia Union franchise. And 4 years ago when I was hired, my boss asked me to design a history of U.S. soccer class from the elite men's perspective in America. And after reading about a dozen books or so on the subject, I found out that most of the stuff that's been written is dull and negative. And I didn't have to come to that conclusion. I tried to slip in some chapters from these published books, and my kids at the time, these kids are now fully grown pros, like Cavin Sullivan, for example, and a half a dozen other boys in the 9th grade class pushed back, and they didn't like the published stuff on the syllabus. So that started me on a 3-year journey to write my own version, if you will. And now, of course, those boys are fully grown. The book has finally been published, and here we are right on the cusp of a World Cup, a glorious World Cup on our own soil. But the impetus was my students themselves.
So going back 150 years isn't necessarily easy with any topic. How are you able to get the details of the very beginnings of the American game?
Sure. One of the things that I have an advantage as a writer in 2024 to 26 when I wrote this is the fact that a lot of newspapers and yearbooks from colleges have now become digitized, at least over the last 10 years. So in telling the story basically from the 1850s, going up into the 1920s, I was able to read and come across stuff that may not have been present to historians a decade or so ago. And it wasn't easy, of course, because you're reading stuff that from newspapers and from magazines that have been digitized, but it was over 100 years ago. And just a quick anecdote, you might find 2 newspapers in the same town or city covering the same soccer event, yet they give the score in the paper differently and the goal scorer's name's different. So you still, even though it's digitized, you do have discrepancies in the record, particularly with news and artifacts and facts going back over 100 years. So it was difficult, but it was fun.
Sounds like a lot of hard work went into this one. So your book references the golden age of American soccer. Can you explain that for those who may be unaware?
Yeah, for listeners who may not know about the so-called golden age, that refers to a 10-year span in American soccer history between 1921 to 1931, where the United States had a fully functioning professional league. And it spans mostly cities on the East Coast. So take the corridor, if you will, from Philadelphia up into Newark, Kearny, New Jersey, New York City, Brooklyn, Pawtucket, Rhode Island, on up to Boston. That corridor, long corridor, hosted fully functioning professional teams for a full decade. And the quality of play, at least in the mid-1925 into the 30s, was rivaling some of the better leagues in Europe in terms of talent. In fact, we, the United States owners in the 25 to 26 era, started recruiting and paying players from abroad, particularly in Scotland, England, and Wales, and Ireland, to come to play in this league, paying them 2 to 3 times more than when they were making in the British Isles. So for a decade there, the United States was on course to be an international soccer power. Unfortunately, that league suffered through a 1-2 punch. In 1928, there was a rival startup league that siphoned a lot of money from the league And then we had the disaster known as the Great Depression in the fall of 1929 that really knocked the wind out of the sails of this up and coming league. So for 10 years, though, the Yanks were really on a roll.
So in your book, you go all the way from the very beginnings right up until the present. What was the most eye-opening thing you discovered about the journey of soccer in American culture?
Yeah, so that's going to be a tough one. I think for me, in order to write the book, particularly the later chapters where we're talking about the modern era and the sprint we've had over the last 10 years up until this coming World Cup, what was eye-opening to me was to talk to people that know a lot more about soccer, football than I do. And Tim Howard, of course, a living legend, wrote a foreword. Cavin Sullivan, our own young, wonderful pro player, wrote another foreword. And then I also talked to a score of talented people all around the country, whether they're owners or part owners or sporting directors from several of the MLS teams, on down to former people who work for the USSF and are also coaching in the trenches today. That to me was the most wonderful aspect of listening to other people, thought leaders, if you will, who are experts in their own area of football, and then to realize, after talking to these people and trying to write it down, that all of us soccer people are really connected. And the Union and the Philadelphia region has our own nodes and are all soccer mad people in our particular region, but to recognize that the similar thing is happening in all the other MLS and the USL places around the country. We are all part of the growing soccer nation, this tent, if you will, that's expanding and is hopefully going to get a big bump from this summer's World Cup.
Talking about the World Cup, how are we feeling about the prospects of this year's squad? The final roster announcement is now less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, well, let's hope that some of our Union people who have gone through the Union's program that played for the first team and also graduated from the school YSC Academy, let's hope that maybe a couple of them make the full World Cup team. And listen, it's hard to say, right, in what's going to happen. Of course, I'm no guru. I don't coach. I'm an English teacher and a writer. But of course, like most Americans, I think it's realistic to hope for a top 16, final round of 16 appearance. Anything before that, if we get knocked out, is going to be a bitter disappointment. And anything past the round of 16 would be a glorious achievement. But again, there's no fortune teller and there's no wizard that knows what's going to happen. But we're all optimistic, hopefully, that the Yanks can do a deep run this summer. But we're just going to have to see. But again, no matter what happens, soccer is here to stay in North America, and soccer is going to continue to grow.
I love that, Mark. 2 final questions for you. First, where can fans get your book? And second, you mentioned Cavin Sullivan wrote part of the foreword. He scored his very first Major League Soccer goal on Wednesday night. How happy are you for him?
Yeah, so first off, let's celebrate Cavan Sullivan and all the pros that are playing, whether they're coming up from a Union franchise like ours or any of the other homegrowns around the league. The future of U.S. soccer rests on American youth development and clubs like the Union who have found a way to supercharge their coaching and their learning environments to push pros up into the top program, both domestically and hopefully internationally, which we've proven we were able to do. And then the bevy of kids every year that are coming out of here and going to college. It's a true success story, and more people should try to copy what's working for the Union and make it workable in their own local environment. So yeah, I mean, bravo to Cav Sullivan. Bravo to all the youth players around the league and in the USL that are living the dream and are trying to become professional soccer players. And if they're not going to become pro, to then continue to consume soccer at an elite level, to support your local MLS club, to increase the fans and the tickets and the interest around the game. That's what we're all hoping for. As to my book and my little contribution to the world of US soccer, it's available anywhere where books are sold, and it's got a nice little logo and a crest. So briefly, what does American Soccer Nation mean? It's a couple things. It's a book, it's a brand, it celebrates 150 years of soccer on American soil. It's optimistic, it's competent, confident, and inspirational about where we are and where we're going as a nation.
Mark, I cannot wait to read this as I brush up on my U.S. soccer knowledge ahead of the World Cup. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Sage. Thank you, listeners.
Keeping the national team conversation going, my partner in crime, Sheanon Williams, joins me on set to continue our roster breakdown series. Sheanon, we're into the midfield today. Lots of options, not a ton of spots. Let's leave the attacking players out of it for now. You've got names like Tyler Adams, Luca De La Torre, who made the 2022 team, plus guys like Tanner Tessman and Sebastian Berhalter, who have made names for themselves more recently. What combo strikes the right balance for you?
Like you said, there's a lot of names, and this is the spot for the U.S. soccer men's national team where they have the most depth. I think that there's so many options that Mauricio Pochettino can pick from. Just to pick a few, you talked about Tyler Adams. We have to add in there Weston McKennie, who's done a great job this season over at Juve. Players like Johnny Cardoza that have played in Champions League games are going to be important for this U.S. men's national team. That's not to exclude the likes of our boys like Brendan Aronson and Paxton Aronson, who I do think there is space for on this roster, especially for Brendan Aronson and the season that he's had this season in the EPL. So again, a lot of options for Mauricio Pochettino. We also have the likes of Gio Reyna, somebody that is a very, whether you like him or dislike him, a very important figure for this U.S. men's national team and the World Cup this summer. So again, I think Mauricio Pochettino is going to have his hands full. We'd like to see the names like Brendan Aronson and our guys make it into the list. I think Brendan Aronson is going to be one of the players that this team depends on in this World Cup.
One name in the headlines as of late is our old friend Jack McGlynn. He scored a brace in front of assistant coach Jesus Perez, but he hasn't played for the national team since September. What are his chances?
I think Jack is doing everything he can to put himself in a really good position to showcase and show why he should be on that flight to the West Coast with this men's national team. He scored 2 goals. He's looked in really good form as of late, and that's all you can do is give yourself the best opportunity to make the team with how you've been playing on the field.
Looking further up the field, Diego Luna has been a fixture in recent squads and a personality. Malik Tillman and Weston McKennie's resumes speak for themselves, and Christian Pulisic is the face of the nation. Are those spots all but picked, or is there room to maneuver here?
I think there's spots like Weston McKennie's, Christian Pulisic. Those are spots that I think are locked in and are definitely on that flight. I think when you look at the likes of somebody like Diego Luna or Tanner Tessman, those guys are still trying to play their way into the lineup and also into the roster. So I think this last couple games, especially for somebody like Diego Luna, are going to be really important.
We'll find out who makes the cut together. The final announcement coming on May 26th. Stepping away for just a second on the other side, Sheanon and I will turn our attention back to the Union, who hosts Columbus Crew tomorrow night at Subaru Park. Union Insider is back after this. Back with this week's Union Update presented by Torque. The team announced last week that soccer celebrations will be taking place at Union Yards during this year's World Cup. Fans can come out to watch games on large LED screens with entertainment for adults and children alike. It all starts on May 30th with a UEFA Champions League watch party where fans will have a chance to win tickets to a World Cup match. Time now for our keys to the game presented by Subaru. Union hosting Columbus Crew tomorrow night. Sheanon, what are you watching for?
I'm looking out for those transition moments, and that's going to lead into my first key for this week is can they do a better job in the transition moments, not only the attacking ones, but also the defensive ones. I want to see a better job in those transition moments, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Don't want to see them give up as many chances as they did in that Orlando game, especially in the transition moments.
One of the bright spots on Wednesday was the play of Cavin Sullivan. He made an instant impact off the bench. Not only did he score his first MLS goal, congratulations to him, he got an assist on that momentum builder from Milan Alaski. Do you expect to see an increase in his minutes?
Yeah, I think that he deserves those minutes, and he's feeling more comfortable the more minutes he gets. The game is starting to slow down, and you're starting to see what we were so excited about when it first came to fruition that he was going to be inserted into the first team. We've now seen him start in 3 games. You're seeing that the consistent minutes are leading to good things for Cavin Sullivan. It led to his first goal, his first assist, and I think there's more to come for him this season.
The injury list has recently become quite the cause for concern. Who are you looking toward to step up to fill in some of these spots?
We just talked about him. It's got to be Cavin Sullivan. I think he's a player that is willing to take the risks, and especially in the attacking third. And he's doing a good job of just embracing this role of being the creator for this team. he's somebody that, when I look at that Orlando game, was the reason that they were able to come back in that game. I know they end up losing, but again, he was such a big part. He comes in that first half for Lukic and really dominated the game for the Union and was everything that was good going forward for them.
Someone else who stepped up as of late is Ben Bender. He helped that back line that's also been dealing with injuries. What did you make of his performance and his goal?
I thought Ben Bender did a great job. I think he's definitely put himself in that contention for that left back spot. The fact that he's left-footed, I think, puts him and catapults him above some of the other guys that have played in that spot. Does a good job with the assist for Cavin and also with his own goal. So I think his attacking prowess and him being a player that used to be more of an attacking player is really going to help him if he translates that into a left back spot.
I don't think we talk about it enough, but how impressive is it for a player to move out of their normal position and then really thrive?
Yeah, this isn't a position that he's been asked to play a lot, and I think he's really adapted very well to it. It's a little bit further back, and just everything that you do is different. It's like having a daily routine and then having to change that daily routine. It definitely throws those players off. But how quickly can you adjust? And it's somebody that I notice just wants to be on the field, wants to get as many minutes as possible, whether that be at left back, left mid. It doesn't matter to him, and that's why he's been such an asset for this group, especially at that left back spot.
Thanks for the insight, Shane. And I'm looking forward to seeing who steps up this weekend against Columbus Crew. We have one more break for Union Insider. When we come back, we'll talk final whistle discussion. We'll see you soon. We're back with the answer to this week's trivia question presented by United Concordia. Earlier we asked you, who holds the team record for most goals in a single season? The answer, Daniel Gazdag, now a member of the Crew. He scored 22 goals in a season twice, both in 2022 and 2024. We'll see him back at Subaru Park this weekend. That brings us to this week's final whistle discussion presented by Allstate. For this week's topic, you may have missed it, but earlier this week, South Africa's national team coach left the door open to the possibility that defender Oweitu Makanya could be included in their World Cup squad. Shannon, what do you think the chances are that he gets the call-up?
I think right now he's got to be on the outside looking in, but I think he's put himself in a really good spot with 2 games left, one of them being against Messi, to maybe catapult himself onto that roster. I think obviously the season that the Union have had so far doesn't help his chances, but I think him individually, the player that he is, the age that he is, I think this would be a great experience for South Africa to include him in the roster, let him experience what a World Cup is, and whether he plays or not, be able to help them moving forward with future World Cups.
Just how eager do you think he will be to make a statement in these final 2 games before that roster has to be decided?
He's going to try to do everything he can, whether that's creating a goal or stopping a goal. He's got to make sure that he's being talked about, especially as they're putting together that final roster. Again, going to have 2 more games to showcase his talents, and we fully expect him to be in the lineup.
He's a very young player. How high of a ceiling do you think he has?
The sky's the limit for this player. This is a player that is now playing in a lot of games week in, week out, and you're just going to continue to see him grow and get better the more games he plays, similar to a Cavin Sullivan. As you get games under your belt, that's when you start to feel the confidence. We saw that last year. I know it's taken a dip this year, but again, I think he'll get back to that confidence.
That's all we have time for this week. The Union return to Subaru Park tomorrow night against Columbus. If you're not coming out to the stadium for the team's last home match until late July, we'll miss you, but you can catch the action exclusively on Apple TV starting at 7:30 p.m. Thanks so much for watching this week's edition of Union Insider. We'll see you next week.